Hello. This is a story about Carl.
Carl is our main character, and he is reading the New York Times. And
Carl decided to pick up and buy some tickets to the Congo.
They were staying in, I couldn't really make sense of it. It was this weird moment where Carl was like sort of speaking French. They were either staying in like the attic, or he kept saying dungeon, and like dungeon's not really a word.
Very fancy hotel. Only white people hotel. Very important that it was only white people hotel, apparently.
a French dude. The French dude seems to be somewhat stupid.
They took his feet.
Takes his feet is how I was told it.
They come off of his body.
That's all she wrote, folks. So good luck with that.
A man named Carl. He read an article in the New York Times about cobalt and cobalt in the Congo. Everybody needs cobalt for electric cars now. It's the new thing, cobalt. So he flew down there thinking he could charm his way into money and cobalt. He went to a fancy hotel that he saw in the New York Times where fancy white people were going and making deals. He found two drunk, fat white men. He schmoozed them. They hired him as a consultant to help them get more cobalt. He didn't know shit about cobalt, just read that article in the New York Times. But he didn't start his job for 2 weeks. And he just watched that Anthony Bourdain Roadrunner documentary and thought he would do a little Congo trip himself. But he dressed nice and he got kidnapped. And they wanted a ransom for him. But he had no money and he panicked. He couldn't charm his way out of the kidnapper's hands. And so, they didn't speak much English. They spoke bad French. It's the Congo. So they killed him. His first day on the job never happened, old Carl. So, no money and no cobalt. Congo took him.
There once was a man named Carl, and he read an article about cobalt in the New York Times and how it's needed to make electric cars, and everybody wants cobalt. So Carl decided to pick up and buy some tickets to the Congo, where all the cobalt comes from. He also read about a fancy hotel, and he stayed at this hotel and when he arrived in the Congo. At the hotel, at the bar, there were a couple of drunk guys, and he was a pretty good schmoozer, and he schmoozed them into becoming kind of local consultants for him. Another detail is everybody at the hotel is white, just so you know. And anyway, he hired these guys, but then what happened was Carl was dressed a little too fancy, and Congo's kind of a dangerous place, so he got kidnapped. And his kidnappers couldn't speak English. They could actually only speak French, or shitty French, because this is Congo, and they don't have a good education system there. But they got lots of cobalt. And, now I guess is the part where Carl gets killed by his kidnappers. And Clarissa wants to interrupt me because she listened to the story, but she's not allowed to. And And he never started his first day on his cobalt job that he was trying to make for himself because he got killed. The end.
There once was a man named Carl, an entrepreneurial man who read an article in the New York Times about the current craze for cobalt. Carl figured out where to get cobalt in the Congo. So he flew to the Congo and got himself a room in a hotel. Very fancy hotel. Only white people hotel. Very important that it was only white people hotel, apparently. And Carl met 3 people. Porters, maybe. People who offered to take him to where he could get the cobalt. And they took him there, or so they said. But unfortunately, en route, Carl was kidnapped by someone. He was kidnapped, and by some shitty French-speaking, as in the French was shitty. Not they were probably shitty, but the French that they spoke was shitty. So unfortunately, there was a huge barrier of communication, and Clarissa remembered something about the story that she wasn't supposed to hear, but she tried to tell, is trying to fill me in, but that would be cheating. And so this is where the point where Carl's kidnappers killed him and he didn't get his cobalt.
So Carl wakes up in the morning. Carl is our main character, and he is reading the New York Times and is reading a bit about cryptocurrency and a bit about how the stock market is going. And so he finds his way to the end of the article where the New York Times writer is talking about how cobalt is the next gold, it's the next cryptocurrency. Cobalt happens to be in the French Congo in Africa. And so on his way over, he meets a couple people in his hotel, one being a very poorly spoken Frenchman, clearly uneducated. He ends up kidnapping him. And during that time, while he was kidnapped, the Frenchman who took Carl away from his cobalt seeking situation, he realized that he was going to lose his feet. Carl was going to lose his feet because on the way from one location to another, Carl had stepped on several pieces of glass. And so during that time, the shoes he was wearing were already worn as he left for the trip to the Congo for his cobalt. And now his shoes had worn through. And so he now has several infections in his feet as he was sitting in the jail cell that he basically was in, which was the Frenchman's brother-in-law's cousin's attic, but it seemed like a dungeon because there were no windows. So felt like a basement, was an attic. And so now Carl has been there losing his feet, and this Frenchman is now concocting a plan, and that is the next step of where the story needs to go.
This is a story about Carl. Carl is the main character. Carl's a bit of a finance guy. Carl's been reading the New York Times, learning a little bit about cryptocurrencies, about where the stock market's going, how he's going to get his finances in order so he doesn't have to work anymore. And he starts learning that cobalt is going to be the next gold. That's where it's really going to go. And he learns that it's going to be mostly mined in the Congo. So he figures out how to go to Congo, goes to Congo. And along the way, somewhere on his way to a hotel, he's kidnapped by a French dude. The French dude seems to be somewhat stupid, somewhat uneducated, but knows that Carl is knowing something about cobalt. And he takes him to a prison. Not a prison, almost a prison. Seems like a prison. It's a basement, not a basement. It's an attic, feels like an attic. Feels like a basement because there's no windows. And because there's no windows, he's upstairs trying to figure out what to do. And the place used to be the Frenchman brother-in-law's sister's cousin's bedroom. But it's an attic that feels like a basement. And he's got to figure out what to do. So he figures out he needs to find a way to make new feet. Oh yeah, he lost his feet. At some point on the way, he stepped on glass. And now he's got all sorts of infections in his feet. And they took his feet off. So he's got no feet. And he's got to make new feet. So, in the attic, he finds 2 bricks. And he starts shaping those bricks into feet. One with toes, one with spikes on it. Now, the next step of the story.
This is a story about Carl, and Carl's he's a smart guy, a bit of a finance guy. He's been reading the Wall Street Journal, figuring out what's going on in the world, and he's been reading about cryptocurrency, and he's figuring out kind of what's going on in the world of cryptocurrency, and he realizes that Cobalt is the next cryptocurrency, and so he's learning about Cobalt, and he figures out where it's going to be mined, and he gets in touch with this French guy, and he's working with this French guy, and then all of a sudden he realizes that it's not the right guy, and he gets taken to a prison, but it's not quite a prison. It's a bit of it's a basement, but it's not a basement because it has no windows and it's above ground, so it's got to be an attic of some sort. And he's in this attic, and he's trying to figure out how he can get out of there. And so there's a French guy's girlfriend's brother's sister's cousin's in-law, and they took his feet, and so he doesn't have any feet, and so he's got to figure it out. He's in this attic, and he's like, I need some feet to get the fuck out of here. And he finds 2 bricks, and he makes one with one foot out of brick that's got some normal toes, and the other one's got some spikes, and that's where the story goes.
All right, so I'm here to tell a story about Carl. Carl he's in finance, and he became really interested in cryptocurrency. And he learned from his research that Cobalt was sort of the next big cryptocurrency. So he's doing all this research. He's trying to figure out where Cobalt is mined and where he can go and sort of follow it. Much like the California Gold Rush, it seems. And he meets this French guy who is also, I think, interested in finding where the cobalt is. And he goes on this trip, I think, with the French guy to find the cobalt, but I think in part of his harrowing journey, he gets captured and is in some sort of attic dungeon and is like trying to figure out how to get out, can't figure it out. The French guy's girlfriend, or a relation many times removed, removes his feet, takes his feet is how I was told it, this part of the story. So his feet are gone. How is he going to escape without feet? And so he's trying to figure out how to get out of this attic dungeon without feet, and he fashions some feet out of 2 bricks. One brick is more foot-like than the other, I think, and has toes. And the other brick has spikes on it. And that's all I have of the story.
Okay, I'm here to tell you a story about Carl. Carl is a finance guy. He's super into crypto, as so many people are these days. The crypto that he's currently interested in goes by the name of Cobalt. And with his interest in Cobalt, he either lives or is traveling to California and meets another guy, a French guy, who's also into Cobalt. And the two of them, for their quest for mining for more cobalt, decide to go on a trip. I don't know, or I can't remember where they go, but at any rate, on their adventure, the French guy and Carl, they somehow encounter the French guy's girlfriend and somehow end up in a, as I was told, a dungeon attic, which I don't know what that entails, but somewhere not fun. And while they're in there, the French guy's feet are either removed or taken, or something happens. The feet are gone on the French guy. And they're clearly, or he is locked in this dungeon attic without any feet, but needs to escape. So somehow he finds some bricks to use or repurpose as feet. And one of the bricks or feet has toes, brick toes, and then the other one has spikes on his supposed brick feet. And that's all she wrote, folks. So good luck with that.
Okay. This is a story about Carl. Carl is a finance bro who's into crypto and lives and or travels to California. In his living and or traveling to California, he meets this French guy who's also into crypto and crypto mining. The crypto that they're mining is named Cobalt, and they decide to go on a trip together to mine more cobalt. On their trip together to a location that is not previously mentioned to me, they meet the French man's girlfriend and somehow end up in a dungeon attic, an attic that's also a dungeon. The French guy loses his feet. They come off of his body in the dungeon attic, and he needs to escape. So he finds a pair of bricks that he repurposes as his feet. One brick has brick toes. The other brick has spikes. And that is literally the end. That's all I got. Enjoy.
Hello. This is a story about Carl. Carl loves crypto. Carl is a finance bro. Carl lives or has traveled to California. He has met his best French friend. We'll call him Jacques. Him and Jacques go after crypto, which is called Cobalt, special cobalt. They are going on a trip to mine more cobalt. they travel far. And when they get to this said destination, I think in California, they meet the Frenchman's girlfriend, and they end up in a dungeon dungeon attic. And wild things happen in this dungeon attic that they ended up in. There are bricks, and the Frenchman loses his feet somehow. And the bricks, he thinks, you know what? I can fix this. I can fix losing my feet. I will make these brick my feet. And one brick has brick toes, and the other brick has spikes. And they are just in this dungeon attic together. All together. And that is the end. That is the end of this story. There you go.
Hey, I know it's been a while. Not much is new over here, but it's allergy season, season like SZN, pretty stuffy. Got a lot of red shit in my eyes. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. When I'm in an office now, it's like you either have COVID or you have a cocaine issue or something, which, I don't know. I thought of you the other day because I had these two friends who were just on an adventure. I know you like adventures too. And this weird fucking thing happened to him, but it's my buddy Carl, who I don't really know that well. He seems like kind of boring, but he's kind of smart, and he really likes nice wine. He's like definitely one of those guys who over-pronunciates French words. He's like bonjour instead of just like bonjour. And he's got his buddy from his like French fucking summer abroad thing that it's weird. I think they're probably making out, but his name's Jacques, and Jacques is like super charming, super kind of quiet artist guy. He's like a ceramics person. He makes, I guess his family were pretty famous brick people. It's kind of crazy. Like, you always wish, like, I wish I was the child of the Chia Pet guy, but so I'd just be rich and wouldn't have to worry about my allergies anymore. I suppose if I was predisposed to Chia Pets, then I just wouldn't have to really worry about allergies or money, and then everything would be just fine. But yeah, so Carl's in finance and Jacques is an artist, and they came by New York. They came by this little spot, and then they decided to go out to California. Carl's like had some crypto convention out there, and they were staying in, I couldn't really make sense of it. It was this weird moment where Carl was like sort of speaking French. They were either staying in like the attic, or he kept saying dungeon, and like dungeon's not really a word. Like homes don't have dungeons. It's sort of derogatory. It's like disrespectful to that person's home. But they were out in California, and clearly like why Jacques needed to go along to some fucking Palo Alto crypto thing with Carl's like girlfriend, but I don't know, there's something going on there. And Jacques and they went out, and it's super sad. But they went out there. Carl, the brick heir, billionaire, super suave, French guy, like, you know, one of those people who just the world would, and frankly now it is because he died, is just not the same place anymore. And fucking Carl, like, who knew? But like, I have allergies right now. Jacques had no idea. He fucking died from an avocado allergy out in Palo Alto. Like, or sorry, Jacques did, the French guys, because like France, they don't have fucking avocados, and like really avocado is just not that over it. But yeah, so they, like, you know, Jacques coming to America, really cool, and Carl, who's, as I recount this story, kind of just sucks, is like, yo, let's go to Palo Alto, we'll stay in like an attic or something. Trying to, in Palo Alto attic, or he kept saying dungeon, and they went out to this restaurant that was probably some like bullshit, like fucking Tex-Mex thing in Palo Alto, and Jacques died. The guy had guacamole for the first time. He's an aristocratic French bourgeois, beautiful boy, so many B's, and he fucking died from first time eating guacamole. No, I love guacamole, but like, there are only a handful of people in this world who have died from guacamole. You can imagine he's like looking at this chunky green slime thing, and he fucking died. Isn't that sad? And so Jacques is gone. The world is done. And Carl's just like freaking out because he killed kind of a perfect person with his like trying to be, you know, show America Palo Alto guacamole. And yeah, so allergies kill even those who are privileged and beautiful and blessed. And so on that note, I don't know, I just wanted to share it. It's kind of crazy. Died of fucking guacamole. Oh my God. Well, I miss you.